I would just like to say thank you very much for including Hispanics and Latinos. I haven't seen the documentary yet, but I've been hearing I'm anxious to see it, read the book, because we love America. We've given our lives for the United States. We still are right now. The war is going on. I'm nervous. I'm sorry. So thank you very much for including that. And also I'd like to say, just getting back to the Civil War, my late mother was very hard to buy things for because she had a lot of things. So I got her a copy of the letter from Captain Ballou.
Sullivan Ballou, yes.
The love letter to his wife, and then I think he was killed the next day or something. And she loved it, so I wanted to thank you for that too.
I carry that letter around with me every day for the last 25 years.
Well, you touched on what part of my question, Mr. Ward. I was interested in Ken Burns' response. In the scope of making this film and the story and all the anecdotes, the process, you come across many different parts. Can you tell us what surprised you in your findings?
You know, that's a really, really great question, and I think that both of us should answer that. I don't know a day that I wasn't totally surprised by something. In all the films we've done, we don't make films about stuff we already know, where we're telling you what we think you should know, but rather sharing with you our process of discovery. And no film has been more satisfying in that regard than this one. Quite often, the startling stuff comes in a blizzard of facts. The little town of Winchester, Virginia changed hands 72 times during the Civil War. And that still just flabbergasts me to this day, that there is an American village that has had rampaging armies going through enough that it would have changed hands 72 times. And the Second World War brought with it the same kind of blizzard of facts, just the incalculable loss that took place in all of these battles we hadn't heard about. But I think for me, it was the accumulated emotional force of the testimony of these people. And sometimes when I just say the testimony, it wasn't just the words they say, but the catch in the throat, the twitch in the eye, the twitch in the cheek, the wink in the eye, the gulp, the swallow, the tears that accompanied a story so that it showed you that there was a lot more to know. From almost the very beginning of the film, when Quentin Ananson says, as a kid riding on a tractor looking up in Laverne, Minnesota at a little biplane flying overhead, and the romance of flight was suddenly before him. That's what I want to do, that's where I want to go. And yet his eyes betray what he would eventually see pursuing that dream in the skies over France. And that, to me, is what every day transformed us as filmmakers in ways I can't even do justice to right now.
I echo all of that. I just wanted to add that this thing, both the book and the film, really are bottom up. And it's a phrase which Ken knows I don't like much. I've always found it vaguely, I don't mean that Ken means it that way, but that the phrase seems patronizing to me. And I'm a guy, I've written lives of Franklin Roosevelt, Mark Twain, Susan B. Anthony, and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, that's one of them. And somebody else, and I can't even remember who it is. And so I've always done the other kind of history. And Jack Johnson, of course. He's a special case. I love him. But this job was different. And these people have a kind of eloquence that is so clear. They are not trying to impress you with rhetoric. They're not trying to make you say what a wonderful storyteller they are. They are telling you their story, and that, I think, I wasn't sure when we started that was all going to work, and I think it worked very well indeed. So that was my surprise.
Considering we've been in many wars, including another world war, World War I, why did you decide to name this documentary The War?
It's very, very simple. And also a little bit complex. We called it The War because that's what everybody who participated in it at the home front or were in battle still call it to this day, the war. We speak in a casual day-to-day way, we speak about the war, we speak about the current war. If you were to assume a kind of aerial perspective of that horrific 20th century, it would also be the war. The worst conflict by far in all of human history. At the same time, wanting to honor what everyone who participated in it calls it, we also were not unmindful of the fact that we were approaching this from a wholly different way than we've ever done this before. That we were getting at not only the particulars of what happens in this war, but what happens in all wars. That the soldiers feel the same thing. I was scared, I was bored, I was hot, I was cold, I don't think my officers knew what they were doing, they didn't give me the right equipment, I saw bad things, I did bad things, I lost good friends. This is common to the Peloponnesian War, to the First World War, to the Second World War, to Vietnam, to the current Iraq struggle. They are all, as a veteran of the Iraq War said to us last week in this city, we are echoes of each other, that there is something universal that happens in this incredible moment of war. And that's what we were after. So that in a way, we were saying the war, to be specific about the Second World War because that's what those veterans call it, and we were calling it the war because we think there are some universal stuff, some free electrons that sort of collide and get released by the collision of the testimonies in this film that are common to all war.